The messenger of death was sent to Earth with a mission to take the soul of a woman who had just passed away. However, upon arriving, he was met with a heartbreaking sight. The woman had left behind 3 tiny daughters, all triplets. One was still nursing from her lifeless mother. Another was wailing loudly, and the third had cried herself to sleep. Their father had already passed away, leaving them completely alone. The messenger's heart ached for the helpless infants. Overcome with sorrow, he could not bear to take their mother's soul and instead returned to the heavens. Deeply troubled by the fate of the children, the messenger of death was given a divine mission to take the soul of a woman who had just passed away. However, upon arriving on Earth, he was deeply moved by the sight of her 3 helpless infant daughters. One was still nursing from her dead mother. Another was wailing in despair. And the third had cried herself to sleep. Seeing their tragic state, the messenger's heart ached, and he could not bring himself to separate them from their mother. Instead of following his orders, he returned to the heavens without taking her soul. When he stood before the god of death, he pleaded for mercy, explaining that the triplets had no one left to care for them. However, his defiance angered the god of death, who saw it as arrogance, an act of questioning the natural order of life and death. As punishment, the messenger was cast down to earth until he could laugh at his own foolishness 3 times. This punishment symbolized a lesson about accepting fate and understanding that humans, or even divine beings, cannot control everything. Though the messenger felt he had acted out of compassion, he did not yet realize that fate had already set a path for the triplets. A truth he would soon come to understand. The first time the messenger laughed was when he witnessed the cobbler's wife angrily scolding her husband for spending their children's clothing money on a stranger. The cobbler, a kind-hearted man, had chosen to help the messenger, who had been cast down to earth in a cold and helpless state. Despite his good intentions, his wife was furious, unable to see beyond their immediate loss. She saw only the money that was gone and the warmth her children would lack. But she failed to realize that their act of kindness would bring unforeseen blessings. The messenger, who was a divine being, understood a greater truth. Humans often focus too much on what they have lost rather than what they might gain. In that moment, he found the irony amusing and laughed for the first time, marking the beginning of his journey toward realizing his own foolishness. He knew that the cobbler's family would soon be blessed beyond their imagination. Yet his wife could only see their current misfortune. This moment in the story highlights how people tend to judge situations based on immediate circumstances rather than considering the bigger picture. Often, what seems like a misfortune at first may lead to unexpected rewards. The messenger's first laugh symbolizes the realization that human perception is limited. People grieve over temporary losses without understanding that fate may have something much greater in store for them. This lesson set the foundation for his transformation, bringing him closer to completing his punishment. The second time the messenger laughed was when he unknowingly made sandals instead of shoes for the king. At that time, it was customary for the deceased to be buried wearing sandals, not shoes. The cobbler, who had taken the messenger in and trained him in shoemaking, was horrified when he saw the mistake. He scolded the messenger, fearing that they would be severely punished for wasting the rare leather given by the royal palace. However, at that very moment, a servant rushed into the shop with urgent news. The king had just passed away, and they now required sandals instead of shoes. The cobbler was astonished, realizing that what had seemed like a disastrous mistake was actually the perfect outcome. Seeing this, the messenger laughed for the second time. His laughter came from the realization that humans often worry excessively about the future, believing they can control or predict it. Yet, life unfolds in ways beyond human understanding. People make plans, set goals, and fear the unknown, but fate always has its own course. The messenger saw how easily people become distressed over situations they believe are mistakes or failures when, in reality, they may be part of a larger plan. Just like the cobbler's panic over the wrong shoes, humans often despair over unforeseen changes, failing to see how they may lead to something better. The messenger's laughter was not just at the cobbler's distress but at his own past arrogance, thinking he could determine the triplets' fate when, in truth, life was already shaping their future in ways he could never have foreseen. The story beautifully illustrates the unpredictability of fate and how our limited perspective often prevents us from seeing the bigger picture. The messenger of death. believing he was acting out of compassion, refused to take the soul of a mother who had just died, leaving behind her helpless triplet daughters. He was punished for his disobedience and sent to earth until he laughed at his own foolishness 3 times. For years, he lived among humans, gradually realizing that what seems like a tragedy in the moment may actually be part of a greater plan. His third and final realization came when the 3 orphaned girls, whom he had once pitied, arrived at the cobbler's shop as young women preparing for their weddings. They had been adopted by a wealthy woman who had raised them with love and care, giving them a life far better than anyone could have predicted. Seeing this, the messenger laughed for the 3rd time. Understanding that his worries had been unnecessary, life had already found a way to take care of the girls. This moment of realization allowed him to return to the heavens, now wiser than before. The story reminds us that we often stress over situations that are beyond our control, unaware that fate may already be working things out in ways we cannot yet see. Instead of resisting the unknown, we should trust that life has a way of leading us to where we are meant to be. Even through difficulties and unexpected turns, life often unfolds in ways that are beyond our understanding, and what may seem like a tragedy in the moment can later reveal itself to be part of a greater plan. This story teaches us that our perspective is limited. We only see what is directly in front of us, but the bigger picture remains hidden. The messenger believed he was doing the right thing by refusing to take the mother's soul, thinking the triplets would be left helpless. However, fate had already prepared a path for them, ensuring they would be raised in a loving home and live prosperous lives. This realization came to the messenger only after experiencing life on earth, where he saw how unpredictable yet purposeful life can be. Similarly, in our own lives, we often feel lost or defeated when faced with hardships. A financial struggle, a broken relationship, or a missed opportunity may seem like the end of the world. However, as time passes, we sometimes look back and realize that those moments were necessary for our growth. Just as the cobbler's wife couldn't see the blessings that were coming her way, we, too, may not always understand why things happen the way they do. The key is to trust the process, knowing that setbacks can lead to better opportunities. This story reminds us to be patient, to let life unfold naturally, and to believe that everything happens for a reason, even if we cannot see it at the time.